this Wednesday, man, it just keeps getting better. Gee whiz. Finished up with Rick and Bob, and now, how about a blast from the past? One of the greats from Indiana football, and back in one of the great eras of Indiana football. Mike Dumas, 10-year veteran of the NFL. Big thanks to Derek for getting him on with us. How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Oh, man, it is a pleasure. Trust me. Like I said, when you were playing, as I was in school then, it was so much fun. The program was rocking, all those bowl games. Anthony Thompson, defense, and you guys, just what a fun. I had two of my roommates had played, and it was just football was so fun. It's like it has been the last couple of years, not this season, unfortunately. We'll get to that, but man, it was what a great time that was.
That was an awesome time. Right now, if anybody asked me, what period of time would you go back to if you could? And it wouldn't necessarily be my freshman year, but every year after that, definitely. Those are some of the highlights of my life.
You guys, what was your relationship like, Derek, back then?
You know what? Real quick, Mike started. His rise to fame came from blocking punts, and he can tell you the rest of it from there, boy.
Oh, he did a lot more than that, but
yeah, he did. Yes, he did.
But how about developing the relationships you guys get to develop, and like right now, all these years later, that's one of the things that I value in whatever it is, and whatever, it doesn't matter if it's a sport or a job or whatever. It's having met someone that you're able to carry on that friendship so later in life to where you're not even around them, but it picks up right where it left off every time you're back together. And I'm sure that's like that for you guys and a lot of your teammates, or especially the ones that there are just certain ones that you draw closer. But that's probably some of the things I would think that you hold dear.
And that's exactly right. And I think a lot of it has to do with the bonds that you build, especially on the field. During the course of training, going through 2 days together and just spending all that time together while you're traveling, practice, meetings, training table. And then they always pair us up with a teammate to live with in the dorms until, your junior year, when you can actually move off campus. But 9 times out of 10, you move in with another former or a teammate of yours. So you build those bonds, you build those friendships, and those are something that a lot of people can't say that they have. I've been fortunate. I lived in South Florida, and who was my neighbor? This cat that you have on the screen right now with you, he lives right down the street from me, and our kids go to elementary school together.
That's crazy.
And you're going to have another guest on the program, Kenny Allen. Back here in Houston now, my daughter and Kenny Allen's son, they went to homecoming together, and they had no idea that we even knew each other.
That is nuts.
It's a small world.
It was funny. You said earlier in a segment, I was talking about telling a story where I ran into Pat Graham a week or so ago, a former basketball player at IU that we both went to Floyd Central High School. His father-in-law was my football coach, blah, blah, blah. And then he was telling me a recruiting story, actually, and then how that morphed into a guy that I graduated high school with, and David Robinson at Navy, blah, blah, blah. It's the fabric of sport. I don't think there is a fabric like sport that brings people together like this. There's so many degrees of separation that's mind-boggling.
Right. Correct. I feel the same way. I hadn't seen Derek in probably 8-9 years. After college, he went and joined the service, and I was playing in San Diego, and we flew out to play Miami Dolphins. So when we would travel from the West Coast to the East Coast, we would always leave 2 days early. So when I got to my hotel room, I had a message on my phone. So I dialed in to check the messages, and it was him. it was Derek, wanted to get together. So we went out, had a meal, and were able to kind of break bread then and kind of catch up. So it was nice. I mean, and you never know where you're going to be when you're going to run across somebody, that is a blast from the past.
Yeah, there's nothing like it. You played 10 years in the NFL. I was talking to Derek about that earlier. I said, that is a career. And I was guessing, I said, I'd have to guess the average life expectancy in the NFL is, I said three. I think I said three. I was going to say 3.5 to 4. And I already said 3.5, and he already held his fingers up to 3, and which is exactly right. Lasting a decade in the league, man, that is a chore. And to do that is an accomplishment in and of itself, but had to talk about the blast that had to be. Played for the old Houston Oilers, which I love the fact. I hate the fact that teams are not what they used to be. I want the Oilers to be the damn Oilers. Leave that stuff alone. But that's a whole nother deal. But playing in the NFL, what a blast that had to be.
You know what? It was a great time.
I'm sure it was more of a blast after, because it's mind wreck, I'm sure.
I mean, it's kind of surreal, with a career longevity average of 3 years and a new crop of new draft picks coming in every year. I mean, you got to be on your top of your game at all times, because, it's a numbers game. And when I say numbers game, it's monetary. So if they can find somebody to come in for less money to do your job, you better believe that you're going to be out the door. So you got to always look at every year, every offseason as if it's your rookie year. And that's how you got to focus your mind and train your body and be prepared. And it's a grind. It's
10 years of a new crop of guys coming out trying to take your job that are younger, some stronger, some faster, but obviously not as good. They didn't get it done. Derek, jump in. I'll let you be.
Well, no, I mean, Mike is exactly right, man. I mean, the thing I know about Mike most of all is that he always remained the same person. It probably should have been drafted a lot higher than he was, but nevertheless, he was drafted. And he's the same guy. Every time, we got an opportunity to be around each other, spend a lot of time even after football, post football, being around each other. And like you said, in South Florida, had an opportunity, to spend time together with our families and with our kids. But Mike was, like I said before, when Mike came in, it's almost like the NFL, because I came in the year before Mike. So the next year, they bring this other defensive back in. That's a cornerback. I was like, well, somebody gonna lose a spot this year. Somebody's gonna lose a spot. And Mike came in, like I said, and he started blocking punts, and he just went to the top. I played every position in the secondary. I mean, from safety to corner, and even at that, I think the most notable thing about Mike coached in the NFL. Okay, here's a guy that should be. Folks, and if you don't know this, this is coming from me. Here's a guy that should be coaching on someone's football team. He's ready, willing, and waiting. He's got a lot of knowledge, but he coached with the Miami Dolphins, right, Mike?
Yeah, I spent 4 years with Miami, coaching under Nick Saban and Cam Cameron.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's a nice tidbit to learn. Need to get somebody to add that to your Wikipedia page.
Absolutely.
Nick Saban, obviously one of the greatest, going to be considered one of the greatest coaches in certainly collegiate football of all time, has dominated college football for the last decade. It didn't work out for him in Miami, but and Cameron also a great offensive mind, one of the great offensive coordinators. He was just terrific as a coordinator. He didn't have his success as a head coach, but man, as a coordinator, he lit it up for a lot of places. That had to, in 4 years, that's a lot of learning there. Are you wanting to get back into coaching?
I am desperately trying to get back into coaching. It's got to be the right fit. the right scheme. But you know, I've played in the 4-3. I played in the 3-4. I've even played in Buddy Ryan's 46. So there's not a lot of defenses that I haven't been around or associated with or have knowledge on. But just getting the opportunity to get back in there, that's something that I really long for right now.
And I don't want to put the cart before the horse, but there are more than likely Indiana's deep problems this year. We haven't talked about Indiana yet. Their football team, not the season at all that anyone expected. And there's going to be changes. I mean, there's no other way to put it. I can soft shoe all around it that I want to, but we've already seen teams like Nebraska clear their entire offensive staff, which I've already said, I don't get that. Let the season finish. But the reason these colleges are doing this is the commitment day has been moved up for recruiting. It used to be in January, I think, but now it's moved up. So they're trying to get in front of that, which again, I don't like it. And I don't think Indiana will do that. I think they will wait till the season's over, but wow. If that opportunity came up, that would certainly be certainly incredible.
That definitely be ideal. You know, what could be better than go back to your old alma mater? So that would be ideal. I would definitely be very interested if that does happen. Now, as far as Nebraska goes, that decision that they made just tells me they're desperate. That just shows that's a decision based off of desperation right there. And they knew
they had to do something, and since they weren't going to fire Scott Frost, they had to do something big. They had to do something to make a big splash.
Yeah, but you're making that big splash at the expense of those kids.
Yes, I agree.
You know,
and why would you do that? I mean, how in the hell are they going to compete these last 3 games? And what have you told those players that it almost said, all right, we're quitting on this season is what the administration is saying. All right, we're quitting on this season and we're focusing on next year. Well, these players aren't going to quit, but who the hell is going to coach, call the plays? And I know that they're setting up to do that, but that's got to make it even more difficult.
I mean, but in the college ranks, you can only carry, I think, 9 assistant coaches and then the head coach.
I think it's been expanded up now to 10.
Okay.
I think.
Even with 10, if you fire 4, now you're going to have grad assistants leading these team meetings, you know, these position meetings, and making corrections out on the field, you know, game planning. And that's not something that's really in their wheelhouse, you know? So that's to the detriment of these student athletes who are, granted, they're on scholarship, a lot of them, but to give them a subpar coaching staff for 3 games, you can't tell me you couldn't last and extend this for 3 more games, 3 more weeks, and then make these changes. I mean, that's desperation. And I really think that is the head coach trying to save his own skin right there.
Yep.
And these promises and the changes that he's going to do.
Yeah, I said the very same thing. I'm going to get rid of you before they get rid of me.
Exactly.
And that's, you know, and I tell you, you know, and I, you know what, I sincerely, wholeheartedly believe in our head coach, Tom Allen. And I'm thinking the same thing. Listen, Miami brought back Ed Reed, the great Ed Reed. I think we should bring back the great Mike Dumas and help motivate some of those players and put him into a position to where he can have some kind of contact and encourage those players. Because once he gets there, I mean, the ceiling is high for Mike. You know, once he just gets in that program, in my opinion, Indiana will be a great place. In my opinion.
Have you had a chance to watch Indiana play throughout the season, Mike?
I have been able to watch a few games, yes.
Which games was it, and what did you see? I mean, because offensively, they've been a wreck. Defensively, they started out really strong, had some injuries. They got a guy in like Taiwan Mullen and Reese Taylor who've been hurt. hurting them on the outsides, on the defense and corners. But they've been strong, but they had to kind of hit up defensively. But what have you seen?
What I have observed is they're having trouble moving the ball. I mean, they have a 2-quarterback system. And, you know, I come from the mindset, if you got 2 quarterbacks, you don't have one. You know, if you got 2 of them out there playing, you know, splitting reps or alternating games, then you don't have one solid one. So, and it's hard to move the ball. I think they need some wide receiver help, offensive line help, you know, because even with 2 quarterbacks, if they're running for their lives and having to run the ball because they can't push the ball downfield, then that's going to be an issue. The defense, it needs to be shored up a little bit, you know, some key spots. I know they had a pretty good safety there last year. I think he might have graduated. I'm not sure if he's still there this year.
Jamar Johnson?
Yeah. No, Jamar Johnson, he's in the league, man.
Okay. I was very impressed with how he played. You know, I watched him a lot. I like what
Michael McFadden has just, man, if you didn't see the Michigan game, there is one play that should be his entire highlight reel for the NFL where he comes up the middle, he blows up 2 linemen and gets to the quarterback, gets the sack. And Coach Warren was talking about him in the pressers earlier this week and says he's a guy that plays the same way on play 70 that he does on play 1, that he is just go, go, go. And you see it, man. God, I love watching him play. But if you had 11 of those guys, you'd be winning a whole bunch of games.
Exactly. I mean,
and you got to replace that guy next year, because you got to know Michael McFadden's gone. He's en route to the NFL. He's not coming back next year, man.
I mean, Derek, if you think about it, back in the time we were in school playing, we didn't have the 5-star, 4-star athletes. You know, we made do with what we had on the field, and we could put, you know, on the field. And a lot of it has to do with just attitude, mental toughness, you know, being able to know where you're supposed to be at any given time and just not making a lot of mistakes. I mean, and if you do that, I mean, for the whole duration of the game, you're going to be in a lot of games and have the opportunity to win a lot of games. Now, we did have some talent offensively and defensively. I mean, so, you know, we fared very well during our tenure at IU.